Welcome to episode 37 of The Liz McMullen Show, and my guest is wonderful new author Yvonne Heidt. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. You know what? I heard that you won an award this year.
I did.
You are such a stud for your first offering to get an award.
I didn't do it alone. There, the team, the whole team that's involved at Bold Strokes was so advantageous for me as a new author. I can't stress that enough.
You know, Bold Strokes, I've interviewed Rod twice, and, everybody that I speak to from Bold Strokes feels very well cared for.
Everybody's so nice.
Really?
In every phase, and it was so much more than I realized. Write books, sure, but there's so much more after that I had no clue about. You get a little taste if you're reading about somebody, a different author, and they're saying, oh, well, I went through this process and that process, but it really doesn't prepare you for what you actually go through.
No, what I know from myself is there's just so much editing to do after you've, getting the first draft done is the easy part in some ways. Because then the editing is the tough part.
And not only that is that I tend to write my sentences and my paragraphs they're dyslexic. It's weird. It's the only way I can think to put it. I mean, the words aren't backwards, but sometimes the sentences are because my mind's going faster than my fingers, or the other way around, one of them.
Yeah, I'm dyslexic too, actually.
I get things like sentences out of order.
Mm-hmm. Do you catch that when you're doing the editing? Do you catch it, or do other people catch it for you?
I think that they catch it better than I do because I see it one way and it's actually another way.
Yeah, one of the things that is a lingering thing for me is number order. So whenever I'm balancing my checkbook or doing a lot of different mathematical things, I will redo it several times. And it's and when I post things on Facebook, I'll reread it. And whenever I don't read it closely enough, that's when something wacko actually shows up.
I'm lucky on that. I got an accounting degree years ago, so I was able to do my numbers okay. Mm-hmm. It's just, and I think it's because I have a tendency to read so fast, I read it the same way over and over again without seeing the error.
Yeah, that's normal for any writer. So your first book, Sometime Yesterday. Where did you get the idea for this one?
Well, that's a story. I was, how long do we have?
It's an hour-long show.
Oh, okay. My daughter died in 2005, or 2006, I'm sorry. And I needed to believe that love was eternal. Mm-hmm. I have this religious background from when I was younger, but, I totally discarded most of it, but I believe in the power of spirit. Mm-hmm. And I was at work, and she would not leave me alone. All I kept hearing is, write this book, because we were going to write one together.
Oh.
She was just shy of her 25th birthday. But it was always something that she wanted to do with me. Because we both wrote poetry, I wrote short stories, I sent in stories to these different places, and we really admired each other's writing. Mm-hmm. And it would not leave me alone, and I was sitting at work, and she just, Mom, write the book, Mom, write the book, Mom, write the book. Mm-hmm. And so I did, and I started it, and it just came. Mm-hmm. I didn't have an outline. I didn't have anything other than I knew that I wanted this one couple to meet again later.
Mm-hmm. In a different lifetime.
Yeah, that seems to be my thing. I've always heard and felt spirit. Mm-hmm. And it was just a story I wanted to tell. And it's so funny because, if you've read it, there's so much of Natalie and me, and Van is Sandy.
Uh-huh.
You know, so it was really easy for me. I mean, we have such an easy relationship and chemistry that it just came through. And anybody that knows me that have read my book say it's like having me in the room.
Ah.
It's like, oh, I can just hear you reading this. It's like watching you. So that was kind of fun that much of my personality went into it.
That's great. You know,
Yeah.
I like the, you know, and I don't know if this was an intentional plant, but I found the words of the title in a quote, a quote, a second.
Of course it was intentional.
Of course it was intentional.
I have it in all of my books. I sneak it in there. So you're going to have to tell me if you saw it in the next one.
Okay. Well, I did, but I didn't mark it. The first one.
It's there.
It's there.
Yeah.
And
I'm so glad you noticed that. I didn't think anybody did. I thought, well, I know it's there.
I was like, I always got my eyes open for it. So this is like when Van is visiting her grandfather who has Alzheimer's. Mm-hmm. And it's just a paragraph. Van felt a painful tug. Bella, her grandmother. Her grandparents had known each other since they were 9 years old. He had that look in his eyes, the one that he'd gone away to a place he called sometime yesterday.
Oh, that just gave me chills. I love it when that happens. Sometimes I just look at this stuff and go, wow, I wrote this? You know, it just comes. That was awesome. Thank you.
Now I have goosebumps. I have been having so many experiences with spirit lately that it's just, I was saying to a friend of mine, I was like, I think sometimes the things that I read can be helpful for me in my real life. And I was like, thank God I was reading these 2 books this week to make sense of what the hell was going on.
And you know, that's not an accident in my world.
No, and
it's an accident in my world. And you know, it makes me happy that you said that, because there's times when I'm writing things and that my characters believe that I strongly believe. Mm-hmm. And there's times, you know, when I have it in the back of my head that I hope, you know, and with my blogs too, that I hope somebody will read this and get something out of it. You know, I'm not trying to preach or anything else, but I know that there was so much pain with me in trying to figure out what I believed and what I didn't believe, you know, to build my own little Vonnie land, that, and, you know, people have told me, thank you for that. That's exactly what I needed when I needed it. And, you know, and that makes it totally worth it for me.
I agree. And for me,
because I don't get to be out there with everybody, but I can reach people just by
your stuff.
Yeah, it all goes back to Desiree. Mm-hmm. And she, you know, I felt her around me forever. You know, I mean, from the moment she died. Mm-hmm. And she died at 4:44 in the morning. I remember that because I woke straight up out of bed. Mm-hmm. And I had a horrible nightmare. And then I got the call later on that morning. Mm-hmm. But I knew something was wrong. You know, and I thought about, you know, I'm going to call a psychic. I'm going to get a clear message. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm going to get this reading. Mm-hmm. And there was that part of me that was so against it. Mm-hmm. You know the one that the priest drum into your head?
Yes.
You know, that's the devil's work. You better not do that. You know, and I couldn't believe, you know, and where that started was they weren't sure, my daughter, whether it was an accident or not. Okay. And I needed to believe that she was in a good place. Mm-hmm. You know, I refused to believe that what they were telling me. Okay. So and it took me a few years, you know, because I thought, why do I want to, you know, go to somebody and pay all this money and have them tell me stuff I already know? You know, because I can hear her. Mm-hmm. You know, but I'm so connected to it. You know, and then I was watching Ghost Adventures one day, which is like one of my favorite shows. Okay. And not so much anymore. The earlier ones I think were better, but I was watching it, and they had a one and only psychic on there.
Is this the elderly woman that they have on?
Her name is Sheila. Mm-hmm. And she was on one, and Desiree would not leave me alone. She kept going, call her. This woman's on TV, right? Uh-huh. She's in Florida. You want me to call this Sheila? who doesn't know me from Adam, I mean, I don't even know if she takes personal readings, right?
Mm-hmm.
So her name is Sheila Powell. So it took me another year, maybe, call her. And I kept talking myself out of it.
Okay.
And finally one day, and I said, okay, fine. I go online, I find her site, I make an appointment, and it changed my life. And you really see that so many times. Like if you watch any of the psychic shows on today, like Teresa, I love Teresa.
Is that the Long Island psychic?
Yeah. But, and you see it, and people will say, you changed my life. Mm-hmm. And I know that feeling because it literally happened for me.
What happened in the reading?
She did connect.
Mm-hmm.
And, she told me a bunch of things that, of course, nobody else would know. I mean, she didn't know me. This is way before I was all online.
Mm-hmm.
This is before I got any contracts or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And she didn't know my last name or anything. I mean, but she told me details that only she would know.
Mm-hmm.
And she answered some personal questions for me. And I think it was the connectedness to know, where Desiree was and what she was doing. And yes, and validated the things that I was feeling. It's not just me being, wishful thinking or making it up in my head, because that's been one thing, that's been with me all my life, is that I know these things. I don't know how I know them.
Mm-hmm.
And then telling myself, oh, that's just your or having other people tell me.
It's just your imagination.
Notice on my blogs, it always is under this thing. Where do you come up with this stuff, Yvonne? And I say, I don't know, Mom. I'm just making it up as I go along.
Well, I mean, you can feel crazy sometimes. You're like, this can't be real. You're making things up, or you're enhancing things, or, this is the same spiritual connection that I have with this friend of mine. And I was like, this can't be real. This is total. I'm just, I'm making stuff up, or, wishful thinking, or, causing myself to feel something that's not even there. Then I was on a long walk with another friend of mine. And I got this, what I call broadcasting, and it was like this really strong broadcasting of stress and anxiety, and it was intense, and she got it too, because she and I are linked very well too. And I was like, oh my God, and she's like, holy shit. I said, exactly. So then I texted my friend, and I'm like, are you okay? She's like, the worst thing just happened at work, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, all right, so maybe I'm not crazy. Like, you feel validated if somebody else can show you that you're not a nutter,
Oh, yeah. She answered some questions that I'd had from childhood.
Mm-hmm.
And, gave me a really good reading list. And it just opened my eyes. And it's like all these blinders fell away.
The concept of sometime yesterday is a house that is bought. Like, actually, so funny, both of the starts for Awakening and for Sometimes Yesterday is going into a new home of some sort. And then there's Calamity Jane. No. There's a lot of psychic energy, and they're like, you know what? Maybe I'm just stressed from going through X, what I have gone through, and I'm imagining things. But that scary presence that, in both cases, which was a very abusive male energy. Now, does the characters that you created to haunt the house, was that, I know that you said it just came to you, but can you remember any of the things that kind of drove you to write the story the way that you did?
For which one?
For Sometimes Yesterday.
Yeah, and it just did kind of unfold. What I wanted her to do was, completely start a new life.
Mm-hmm.
So she's starting this new life, and she moves. I'm kind of flipping through the book. I don't know why I know it front and back, but I just wanted her to move into the haunted house, and it kind of went from there. And it's so funny, I look at this book, and you should see the stack of scenes that didn't make it in here. There was much more, actually. I was told it was a little graphic.
You mean too dark?
Yeah, I just go there. And so much of it is what I have. I mean, it's what I have inside me. It's what's inside me. It's that, it's the experiences that I've had and the walk that, the path that I've walked, for good or for bad, all the journeys that I've had end up in here. So
if you could give a little summary of, how Natalie shows up where she is and what's going on in this particular house.
She leaves her husband. Okay, so she's been with her husband since she left college. And she doesn't, she just feels like that's the life that she was supposed to lead. It was what was expected of her. Mm-hmm. So she throws herself in her art, and she thinks that, this is what her life's going to be. And she can't get pregnant, but her husband gets one of her students pregnant and then leaves her.
Shudder.
Yeah. So, and in the beginning it says, that she's everything that this woman that he left her for is everything that she's not. She's not tall, she's not blonde, she's not thin.
She is very not tall and skinny and blonde. She's 5 foot nothing is how you describe her.
Yeah.
And she's got fiery red hair naturally. Mm-hmm. Unlike in The Awakening with the landlady who's got fire engine red hair that she dyes, obviously.
Oh, that's Agnes. Oh, we love Agnes.
Agnes is awesome. So anyway, so she comes into this house, apparently she had a really good settlement from her husband. And so she bought this house, and it's got all this wonderful detailing other than the outside looking like Pepto-Bismol, but that's another here or there.
That goes on in this story.
It's like, there's like beautiful wood floors and great detailing. And like she goes up into this room and she's like, this will be perfect for painting. And she just has this sense for stuff, but she also has like door slamming, walking, and whatever is, the haunting that she's experiencing.
But she grew up around this stuff. Her mom is the original hippie.
Hippie dippy dippy.
Yeah. Well, no, not dippy dippy, just hippie. She's just cool.
No, I'm teasing. My parents are hippies. My parents were hippies. They're no longer that way now, but they're not that way.
I was actually born in the Haight-Ashbury district of San Francisco in 1962. So
you
were near and dear to my heart.
Do you know what? I had my first crush on a girl ever. I didn't realize I liked girls, and I was 19, and I was visiting with a friend of mine in Redwood City, and we went into San Francisco into this consignment shop, and there was this punk rock looking girl with this like chunky red and orange hair and
see red hair. That's what I'm saying.
I was like, and she was just. She took my breath away, and I would have asked her out on a date, but I'm visiting with a straight friend of mine who's actually younger than me. We're in college together, and I'm like, this is a very bad example to set. If you need a car to do things around here, it's not like New York City where you can just like meet up with somebody or take a cab. So I didn't ask her out, but I was close, and it happened. Haight-Ashbury.
See, there's just magic down there.
I swear, right?
There's magic down there.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you a question.
Sure. You
said you were reading and you were paying attention. Mm-hmm. What does she not do that she wanted to when she left the house?
What does she not do that she wanted to do?
She was really proud of herself.
Oh, my God. Of course you're going to stump me.
You just stumped me.
You just stumped me. Oh my God. Well, she
was very proud of herself for not leaving frozen shrimp.
Oh, in the curtain rods. That would have been so bad. She had that kind of petty.
I laugh so hard when I laugh and I cry. I mean, I'm right there when I write this stuff.
So for those of you who are wondering what we're snickering about, she left her house. And, the first scene is actually her leaving the house and kind of closing the door and whatnot. And it turns out she's proud of herself for not being spiteful and leaving frozen shrimp in the what's it called, in the draperies, which obviously would make their house stink, which is just evil. I think what's interesting is, like, at first when you learn about her ex-husband, you're like, what a bastard. How could he tell her these things? Why, and at first you're like, oh my God, he did what? And then you find out that he did take her to therapy, and they did try to figure out and got really nowhere with it. And, as easy as it is.
Him a bastard, he tried.
Exactly. That's what I wanted to mention. It's like, it's easy, especially as lesbians. Oh, that awful man that you were with, and now you're with a wonderful woman. Right. No, the reality is, think about what it must feel like to live with somebody who doesn't want you to touch them.
I've been there. Yeah, it's something that you pull up. It's a constant batter to your self-esteem.
Exactly. That's
self-worth.
Exactly.
So I tried to make him a little sympathetic, even though, he was out getting it elsewhere. Mm-hmm. But, I didn't want it to be all about him, because we already have the dark man.
Well, yeah, the reason why I bring it up is that, I know that the intention of many authors is to make sure the boogeyman has some trait, some reason behind what they do, so that they're not all bad. And I felt that, even no matter who your partner is, if you're with them for like a decade and every time you try and touch them, you're rejected, eventually somebody's going to make different choices. These aren't great choices. You shouldn't cheat. You obviously shouldn't get somebody else pregnant.
Natalie was just clueless. She's just in her own little world.
Yeah.
And I identify with that. And what's funny about this is when she gives her mom her little coming out story, mm-hmm. I can tell you it's almost word for word the one I had.
Really?
And I laughed so hard when I was typing it that I was crying. But yeah.
Your mother was like...
Word for word.
Your mother knew that you were gay and wondered why it took you so long to figure it out?
That's the conversation I had with Desiree. With my kids. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, that was fun. That was fun. Not a lot of people know that. There's a lot of me in here. Natalie, she's my little doppelganger.
So what I think is, interesting for Natalie is that she chooses the room to paint in that a previous person living in that home did. Mm-hmm. And she puts all her stuff away, and she goes, oh, I'm going to paint today. And every drawer that she looks in is empty. Mm-hmm. And then another time she goes into the room and it's been wrecked. And the hostility towards her character is the same hostility that man had towards the person that had previously lived there. Why did you choose that time period for them, for the family that was there beforehand?
I think I wanted it to be about the house too. Mm-hmm. I wanted it a Victorian of a certain age.
I think it's a funny way to have your coming out moment where you're in an office, you've bonked your head, and then this gorgeous woman from the past looks down at you and gives you a kiss.
Oh, no, not that part.
Oh.
It's the conversation she was having with her mother and best friend.
Oh, no, I know that. No,
okay.
No, I know that's the coming out story. I'm talking about where she realizes that, maybe I do like girls.
That's the first little inkling, and then we go into deeper thought later. Mm-hmm. When she goes in retrospect. I was so surprised because this actually got a bronze rainbow. Uh-huh. It was a Lambda Literary finalist. Uh-huh. And it won the Golden. I'm floored by that. I am just floored by that. And sitting here talking to you about it, there was so much I forgot because it's been a 3-year endeavor. Mm-hmm. That it's fun because it's like they're people I know. Hey, I was just hanging out with them last year. We talk about them all the time, invite them to dinner. And this is really fun.
So you have Van, and Van has some baggage as well that she holds on to. What was one of the things that was holding Van back in her life?
Mostly, she drinks too much. Mm-hmm. And she really doesn't know she's lonely. You know, she goes out, she hangs out with the girls, she plays softball, she has her, you know, her little bit on the side, you know, because she had what she considered the love of her life, and she died of cancer. Mm-hmm. So she's got some baggage. I mean, she wasn't looking for anybody. Mm-hmm. You know, it was just one of those connection things.
Yeah, it seemed that, you know, for her, once she had her love and lost her, that was pretty much it. And she decided after that that there was never going to be another person that she was going to feel that way towards. And then she can't help but feel the way that she does towards Natalie. Because for whatever reason... She didn't know
she was missing something until she met her.
Mm-hmm. Well,
you know, she was just taking it away.
Well, it just seemed like she was just screwing around and not really even getting to know people's names, and you know, the drinking and the sex all seemed like mind-numbing things that she was doing. And then, you know, she meets somebody who is unforgettable to her.
So did it keep you reading? Did you like it?
I did like it a lot. I really did. And it was spooky and scary, and I think you incorporated a lot of people's worst nightmares ever. I'm in the dark. I'm in a basement. I'm in a root cellar. I have no way of getting out of here. Nobody can hear me. I'm trapped. I'm going to die out here.
Let's put everybody's worst fear into one book.
Yes.
Let's see how many I can name. And if I miss it, I can put it in the next one.
You missed this one. But for me, like the first link that made sense, it felt like, yes, Natalie is recognized by her lover as, oh, I've been waiting for you to come back. Mm-hmm. So Natalie, you know that she is anchored to that home. But you're never quite sure why Van is. And you don't find out until towards the end. And I thought that was very tricky of you.
You know, one of my good friends, she read this and she goes, you know, all the clues were there and I knew what was going to happen, but I didn't know what was going to happen. And then it happened and I was surprised as hell. So I thought, wow, that's a great compliment. She says, you gave me all the clues, so I knew what was going to happen, but I didn't know it was going to happen until it happened. It was awesome. I thought that was one of the greatest reviews ever.
I'm like, oh my God. And what's interesting is because there are like the past life connections, they're also in roles that they would never picture themselves in. And some of the positions that they find themselves in, you know, when it comes to what their lives are like, are informed by the society, the way that a woman's worth was pretty much nothing, and she was chattel, and a man could do whatever he wanted, and if he was wealthy enough, he could pay off, the maid and whatnot to make believe that, you know, oh, she ran away, or he went, you know, she went back to England or whatever. No, she left me for another man, and then like, okay, but everybody knows that he's a liar.
They do, but, you know, it wasn't worth pursuing if they were getting paid off, you know.
Exactly. So we have, we're going to switch over to The Awakening, which I think is your nod to liking those shows that have, you know, psychic investigators and ghost hunters. And is that something?
The way I started that was I fell in love years ago with a show called Psychic Kids. Mm-hmm. It was another one of those aha moments for me.
Oh my God, totally.
As an adult, I would watch these, and I remember I was visiting with my mom. She moved back to California, and I had gone to help her, and I was sitting in the living room, and we were watching it, and I just kept looking at her, and oh my God, that's me. Mom, you know, see, I'm not weird, you know, because she'd say, where do you come up with this stuff? You know, and I was fascinated with that show. And I was thinking, you know, I wonder what happens when they grow up. You know, and that's how this started, this series.
Yeah, I like watching the shows like Psychic Kids, and you got it down pat in the prologue, exactly the feelings that the three different women, young girls, had experienced. There was like the darker kind of thing, but But Sunny, who's very aptly named, is that very sunny kind of bright white light kind of.
Oh, she's totally hippie child. Oh, I just love her. I love her, and I totally picture her as Kate Hudson, Goldie Hawn's daughter.
Oh yeah. Oh wow. Yeah, I could totally see that.
Sunny Sky, and it had to be Sunny Sky.
Mm-hmm.
That it just another one of those things that just popped in my head.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, I like that. And Sunny's like the happy, not only does she have the light because that's the type of person that she is, but she's also the product of being completely and totally loved for all of who she is and encouraged and nourished and happy. So she has that. And then we have the other two characters who are brought in, and like Lacey, who's like, don't call me by my name. What's your name? Yeah. Shade. I'm Shade. And then they're like, la, 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 la. Well, what do you do? Well, what does a necromancer see? And then she's like, oh, that's where you got your name, because you see shades. I thought that was clever. Yeah. And then Tiffany, who's like, I don't like people to touch me. And at first she's like, why? And then it turns out that she gets the signatures off of touching people. So it was a very good way to introduce the three different energies, and they bonded together and became sisters. And one of the things the elements that happens off scene, off the set, is when they were younger, and I think it was just after Sunny's dad had died, she dated Shade.
Yes.
But it was terrible for both of them.
Not for Shade.
Well, for Shade, she had to kind of hold herself back and trying to absorb everything so that she didn't taint Sunny. And it seems that, one of her...
It's too much, yeah.
Yeah. So, and then you have...
That broke my heart to write that. That
they couldn't be together?
It just broke my heart, and that's one thread that goes through the whole series. And and I have to, and I'm trying to keep it very tasteful, very, because Sunny's with Jordan. Mm-hmm. Total skeptic.
And why not me? Some of the saddest lines that you have in there are like, whether they're spoken or they're telepathically said, like, why not me? Because Jordan's dark too, for different reasons.
Yes.
And the pissing contests and stuff like that was hilarious during the book. I was like, my butch cock is bigger than your butch cock.
Because I want the books to be scary, but I want them to be real. People laugh. People say stupid things. People say, I like the fact that people can laugh and cry and be scared. Mm-hmm. I want to be that puppet master.
Well,
because not only am I wanting other people, because it did it for me. I mean, I don't sit here like a robot and type them. I'm laughing, I'm crying, I'm getting a kick out of it,
Well, Jordan, towards the end of the book, is like, I respect the fuck out of her bravery.
Right.
Because Shade's already like, all right, this is my part of the gig, this is what I do. I'm going to take care of this. Not in a cocky way, but that's her shit.
Yeah.
And she just like goes at it with such level of commitment and bravery. What I also thought was really neat about the progression in the book is that, yes, Sunny is light and all that kind of stuff, but she also needed to create some boundaries. Mm-hmm. And I liked that, as she had to grapple with the darkness that she had to during, that was associated with Jordan's apartment and whatnot, she had to experience things that she was sheltered from.
Right.
So it shows her not dealing with things and not being so sheltered, and also setting up boundaries and saying, you know what, I need space.
Yeah, and this is not acceptable, and I won't have you do this. And I like that about Sunny.
Yeah, because
it sets boundaries, and she loses her temper once in a while. And
by the way, of course, I have to tell you, you have quite the hook as the last page and the last paragraph or so in your book.
I do. It was intended to be.
Oh my God, that was awesome.
But it completely stands as its own story. Mm-hmm. For these two characters. But of course, it's certainly, when I first came up with this, I always knew it was going to be a trilogy.
A trilogy.
Yeah, so, and then, in the last one with the hook goes directly into the next book. Exactly.
And I think the sad kind of question that Shade had asked is like, why not me? You know, why don't you love me? Why is it her and not me? And that's something that no matter who you are, if you have fallen in love with somebody at some point and they don't return that to you,
the unrequited, yeah.
Exactly. Oh, but this person that you like, we're similar, but why would you go for her and not me? What's wrong with me?
Right.
And I'm like, oh, Shade, you guys just aren't the right people for each other.
They threaten to burn each other up.
Yes. There's, you know, when you, it's an extreme diametric opposite situation. And the darkness, even though, now I figured out what I want to get. There's a point in the book that I think anybody can relate to, who feels broken or that there's something wrong with them or feels less than lovable. And in the light of somebody who literally is a light, like Sunny is, you feel like, oh, she's too good for me. You know, I'm not even close to being in the same league with her. You know, she shouldn't, I don't know why she's interested in me. You know, if she, you know, she's better off just blowing me off and going to be with somebody who's good. You know, because Jordan doesn't see herself as good. I'm doing a reading from your own book to yourself. And Sunny says, "Let me love you," she whispered. Jordan's breath caught in a lump that formed in her throat before she tightened her embrace around Sunny. "You can't. Has anyone ever loved you, Jordan?" "No." "The fact that you can answer that so quickly and with one word breaks my heart. But I can show you what it feels like and how wonderful it can really be." "I don't know," Jordan shook her head. "You're too good for me." What does that mean exactly? Who gets to define your worth? Yeah, who gets to define your worth? And I was like, oh, that's a great way of answering it, because like half the time when someone's like, "You're too good for me," "No, you're not. I'm good for you. We'll be fine." No. Sunny gets, no. Who gets, you know, no, that's not okay. And I like the way that you put it. And I was like, who gets to define your worth? And Jordan is certain she's worthless.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty powerful line.
Oh, I'm really glad that you see that, and I'm really, excuse me, I'm really glad that some, you know, the points that you're bringing up are ones that I want people to hear. Okay. So that means I'm doing my job.
Exactly. It's like an echo.
That means I'm doing exactly what I want to do, because you've hit on so many things that I thought about when I was writing, going, wow, I hope somebody really sees this.
Because Sky, I want to call her Sky, Shadow wants to know, why not me? And
yeah.
Jordan is the same. She's like, she's not, why not me? She's like, you don't want me.
Yeah, why me at all?
Yeah, you know, you don't want me. I think you're wonderful and beautiful and amazing, but, you know.
She's never loved in her life.
Exactly. And, like, nobody as good as you is going to want me.
Oh, and the way, oh my goodness, did you feel that scene?
Yes.
Yeah.
Shudder.
Yeah, that's more stuff pulled from, you know, not personal, but close to experience.
Mm-hmm. So the what I thought was interesting also is that the past that Jordan has before she ends up in this apartment where doors are clanging and things are all over the place. Mm-hmm. The past that she has is similar to the past that Natalie has. They both have something in their past that they're not fully able to move away from, something dragging them down, somewhat like an albatross. And through the books themselves, whether it's The Awakening, whereas Jordan very, very much so, very slowly awakens. It's not like she sees the light, like, oh, Sunny.
Oh, no, she's kicking and screaming.
She is kicking and screaming the whole way. It's not like, oh, I've made love to her, and she is the light, and then we're madly in love, and everything is wonderful, and I believe in all paranormal stuff. No. Jordan's like, I'm going to deny things left and right, and no matter what, it can't be real. This is totally flaky. You know, you're a shyster, you're a charlatan. And then
and she knows better.
Yes,
you know, she does know better, but she just can't get out of that disbelief. Yeah, the skepticism.
Well, she also has a good roommate. Not roommate, but
Steve, I love him.
Steve Jackson's like, yeah, this place looks like my place, because normally Jordan's very tidy. And her apartment was a red hot mess, and it was after, she had run away from Sonny again, and he's like, this is not you. Something's wrong. You need to get off your ass. You stink.
Take a shower.
I can picture all these people as real, and I'm sure they're even more real for you.
They totally are. And I have different feelings for all of them. I keep trying to figure out ways to bring Steve and Agnes back, and, yeah.
So how do you feel when you finish a book, like with Sometime Yesterday? Like, what?
I cried.
Yeah.
Especially when I was typing it. There's some stuff in there, and we can't give it away. Mm-hmm. I'm hoping that you got it.
I did.
And I cried. And this is one that I wrote longhand first.
Okay.
And I was sitting out on the screen porch just bawling, and I kept crying on the paper that I was writing on. Mm-hmm. And it was very sad. It was very sad. But I hope that it's not that the book doesn't have a happy ending or anything. But there was a plot line in there that I had to bring to an end, and it made me cry while I was writing it. And there was a couple points, and I cried when I wrote tied up all the scenes in The Awakening as well. Mm-hmm. I get so personally involved. It's exhausting.
I can imagine. Like Jordan, when you meet her in the book, she has recently recovered from being shot, and there's a betrayal, but you don't know what the betrayal is.
Right.
But it's some pretty serious shit, but she still kind of keep on keeping on, and no matter all the really alarming, very obvious paranormal things that are happening in her apartment, she's just going to deny it left and right. And
she's going to throw somebody up against the wall and say, "What are you doing? Quit messing with me.
Stop this shit." But the even though she has darkness, there is that beauty in her that she cares. Yeah. There are no throwaway kids to her.
Right.
And there's reasons, because she grew up with a junkie mother and was abused by, people who she would have over at the apartment, and, was beaten and mistreated and all sorts of awful things happening to her.
I actually did read a review where people are putting warning triggers on my books, which really floored me.
What?
Yeah. Not in a bad way. I'm not saying anything bad whatsoever. All she did was she says, I'm going to tell you there's some triggers in these books.
Oh.
So, and I didn't even think about saying anything.
You mean warning somebody before they read?
Yes. That in both my books, because of the violence.
Yeah.
And differences. So I just thought I'd put that out there, because I hadn't thought about it, because I certainly wouldn't want to trigger anybody into anything bad. But I'm pretty honest with the history that these women went through, and I made it as real as possible, because it happens.
Yeah, I don't like.
No. I hope that I treated it with the proper respect that it deserves.
There's this, I was doing a review for, I reviewed this book on feminist pornography, and one of the professors in the book, because it's really a textbook, it's not, it's not salacious or anything, it's a textbook, and this one author, one of the contributors, she's a professor, and she's a professor of women's studies and film, and she was trying to figure out where she was going to put this particular series, talk about this particular topic, and she decided to do it in a film class rather than women's studies. And she also chose it because when you're in film studies, that you're going to be encountering stories and whatnot that may be difficult to deal with.
Right.
But she didn't give any warning labels on it. She just played it and let people experience whatever they experience. And that was one of the reasons why she chose film rather than women's studies. Mm-hmm. And I had a class on women's studies when I was in college, and it was called Sex and Politics, and generally it was about gave me nightmares all semester, all the different things. And there was one video that she showed all these awful rape scenes.
Oh,
You know, and how, and I can't remember what percentage she told me, but there is a very large percentage of either rape or attempted rape that happens in so many movies that it's not, you know, that almost it's a trope, you know,
right.
that something like that happens.
Oh, see, now I never want that to happen. What I think, you know, it all goes back to write about what you know.
I don't.
Stories you're familiar with. That for me, you know, I know what this feels like. I know what these women are going through, but I really wanted to not portray them as victims.
I don't feel that. I mean, if it was done, I don't.
I mean, I certainly didn't want anybody to, you know, it's not a trope for me.
Oh no, I wasn't saying that for you. I'm just saying about.
I just want to make sure that I didn't come across.
No, not at all. No, the reason why I bring it up is that I don't believe that there should be warning labels. It's. I've had folks, you know, say that there should be explicit labels as to what you're going to experience when you open the book, and to me, I'm like, we're all adults.
Right.
And there are, no matter what kind of book you are writing, you are going to be triggering something. You can bring up something that is like a huge, jagging, painful memory for somebody.
I really don't think she meant it bad. She was just saying, you know, here, this, you know, I'm going to tell you that, you know, if you have issues, don't read this.
Wow.
And she's certainly entitled to that. You know, I was sad. I thought, oh, wow, I didn't even think about that.
Well, you can give that kind of review, but I would never have, I mean...
It was a good review. I was just surprised that because I hadn't thought of it that way.
But there's more that, here's the other thing. There's more than just the triggers. There's the resolution. There's the hope. There's
not being a victim, you know, and that's what I wanted to.
So, I mean, even though there are a lot of, you know, it's the whole story. You're taking somebody home, so to speak. You're taking them from a place that has triggers and awful memories and nothing but mistreatment to a place of connection and love. And, you know, it's a healing journey. And if you pull the rug out from beneath somebody or soften it or somehow alter the novel in order to avoid those kind of things, you avoid giving somebody healing as well.
Right. Oh, that's a good way to put it. That's a good way to put it.
Because Jordan...
So I'm really glad that you like them. You sound like you like them.
Yeah, I like them a little bit. I liked your books a little bit, like hurry up and write another.
Yeah, the next one comes out in January. Like I said, I'm doing edits, and that's Tiffany's story.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so. Yeah. The thing, I think it's important to be real and be fair. I think when you're writing tough circumstances, life-changing circumstances, being on the cusp of who you are. For example, Sunny keeps on getting these messages before she meets Jordan that shit is going down. Be careful.
You know that feeling where there's something behind your shoulder?
Yeah.
And you know there's something behind you. And it's like there's something around the corner and it's coming any minute. You feel it. And you know, something's going to happen. Something's going to happen.
Oh my God. In the tarot reading that she did, I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, I have several decks.
Yes. I used to read cards at lesbian parties, lesbian clubs.
Uh-huh.
And I had about 5 or 6 decks. All of them were different. And part of my process I would say, whatever deck you're most attracted to is the deck that I should use for you. So I'd have them choose whatever deck that they like, and then I do a reading. And I was reading about the reading, and I was like, oh my God. And I was trying to figure out what kind of awful, foreboding, crazy ass shit is going to happen to our wonderful, beautiful, sunny sky.
And don't you fall in love with her immediately? Oh, I just love her.
You know what I like about her is that she's sunny without being annoying.
Yes.
She's not a Pollyanna, and she's very protective of her friends, and she's self-aware, and she's grounded, even though she has this light thing. Not that being flaky is a problem, otherwise I'd get shot. But what I thought was great, what I thought was most interesting with Sunny was that normally she can sense what people are thinking and feeling, and she was not getting a clear sense of the future or the feelings of Jordan. Like, it was almost like a block. And at first, in some ways, it was difficult for her. In other ways,
as an empath, you know, the problem is finding your identity, because you're always feeling what other people are feeling.
Exactly.
So it's like, okay, what do I feel?
Exactly. So it was freeing for her to actually feel.
Exactly. And that's what tied into why not shade.
Exactly. It was very freeing in the moment. And one of the other interesting moments was when her mother came over all stressed out, and she's like, I can't see anything.
Yeah.
And when you get so used to having vision more so than just, 2020, it can be alarming not to see, but actually it was a catalyst for Sunny's growth. To actually not see and have to be in the moment. And for her sexual experiences with Jordan are completely the opposite of how Jordan perceives her behavior. For Sunny, she's just like, this is the most transcendental, amazing, insane arousal, just so overwhelming and sensual and wonderful. And Jordan just feels like she is not treating Sunny with enough reverence.
Right.
Like, you need like a 4-poster bed and rose petals.
Totally uninhibited.
Oh yeah.
She doesn't have any. She doesn't have any issues, really. I mean, she doesn't have that baggage.
No.
She knows who she is and her worth. So I loved writing her.
I think you do a really good job when it comes to not just phobias, but insecurities. Because for back to sometime yesterday, Natalie has some insecurities, but it doesn't rule her. And it's interesting to see when she's in battle in the same way as seeing Sunny in battle when she's dealing with these darker or more difficult things. For example, Natalie isn't on cloud 9 and picking out stuff to potentially wear on a date with Van, and then one of Van's ex-chippies is like trying to rip her down a few notches and make her, maybe you didn't have a name she wanted to remember. Yeah. So, I mean, as a woman, you can feel very confident in yourself, but you're always going to have some level of vulnerability. So when Natalie answers the door and a tall, leggy blonde is there and is giving her all kinds of poison and not reality, she buys into it because it symbolizes like, maybe I'm just like all the others too. Totally
Actually, and it was supposed to symbolize the very tall, very blonde person her husband got pregnant and left her for. Mm-hmm. It hit that button.
Exactly.
And I think that we do that a lot. In life, when we're talking and dealing with people in our relationships, sometimes they hit a button that doesn't even belong to them. They didn't build that button. A relationship that you had 10 years ago built that button.
Exactly.
And it's like you have all these do not touch buttons, and then somebody will come and hit it, and you react totally disproportionate to the situation in front of you, because it actually brings the reactions up from the past.
Agreed. So. I agree. So, I mean, there's a lot at work. I know some people may not be as comfortable with spirit and whatnot as you and I are. I don't know why we're so comfortable with it.
I've just been here all my life.
It's like, it's a mystery. But, I mean, it's...
as I go along.
Both books, I feel, remain accessible to people who may not believe in spirit or ghosts. It may not be something that they're on... that they're interested in. And I think especially for the awakening, they can see themselves in Jordan. They can relate to that. And, they can find themselves there and see what happens. Because for me, reading is a very safe journey. You can get on and off the book train whenever you feel. You can experience things that you would either never have in your life or maybe never be comfortable with, but you can go on their journey with them. You can go on Sunny's journey where she's, she's moving away from being so sheltered and experiencing things other than what has been very tidily taken care of for her. And Natalie is exploring things too. So I think that's how I feel about reading these two books, is that it's a journey that I think can be healing. Of course, there are buttons in there, including being cheated on and whatnot, but there's also coming out the other end.
Yeah. And then also, they're fiction. The fact remains they're fiction. It's not like I'm writing a biography. Mm-hmm. And I've gotten wonderful reviews on both of them. And there have been a couple skeptics that said, well, I really don't believe, but she certainly makes it sound believable. And I thought, well, cool, that's good. That's like the best compliment ever.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm really happy with that.
I've enjoyed my journey with you, Yvonne.
I've had so much fun, Liz. I don't even know if we actually closed any of the threads we started. I was pretty much par for the course when you talked to me.
Do you know what's just so funny is that I never know what my experiences are going to be like with authors ever. Right. And I was just like, oh my God, we're terrible for each other. I mean, you and I will enjoy each other's company, but like being linear and cogent and tidy.
Well, you're never going to get that with me.
So I was just like, well, each
I don't know if the readers will catch up with this, but I had a blast.
I did too. So stay on for a moment, but I'm going to close out the episode by saying thank you so much for going on a flaky little ride with me.
Thanks for having me, Liz.